Hi everybody, welcome back to Sunshine Soap and Candle Company. If you're new to my channel, my name is Corey and I'm the owner and the maker of all the things at Sunshine Soap and Candle Company. Last week you saw me post a video on how to make a shower gel from scratch. And I told you in that video that I was going to be taking a pretty deep dive into all things liquid soap making. So today I'm bringing to you another body wash video. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that my most popular video here on YouTube is the carrot, turmeric, and honey soap that I made several years ago. And over the years, I've gotten lots of requests for making that soap into a liquid type body wash or hand soap. And so today we're going to do just that. So stay tuned. We have a lot coming up and I hope you enjoy the video. In this video, I'm going to be taking you step by step through my process and giving you tips and tricks along the way, along with why I'm using the ingredients that I'm using. If you would like the full written recipe plus tutorial, please visit my Patreon campaign where you can unlock this recipe for just a small pledge, and there's so much more to take advantage over there, including live monthly classes and exclusive clubs. All right, let's get started. All right, you want to make sure you're completely suited up for safety here because we are going to be using potassium hydroxide for liquid soap making, and that is a form of lye and is very caustic. So make sure you have your gloves, your long sleeves, your goggles, your long pants, and your closed-toed shoes. So over here, I have my melted oils and my hard butters in the crock pot sitting on high heat. So what we're using today is a high percentage of coconut oil, and we're using coconut oil for its cleansing properties. It'll also bring a lot of bubbles and lather to the recipe. We're using a high amount of castor oil, and castor oil is going to give this soap a very creamy, cold cream type moisturizing finish. And we're using cocoa butter for its beautiful moisturizing and healing properties. This is going to be a hot process soap, liquid soap making method. There are lots of other ways to do it, but this is the way that we are doing it today, and I think the end result is quite nice. So hot process soap making means we are going to be cooking the soap. So the first thing we need to do is combine our potassium hydroxide and our distilled water. You want to make sure you're using distilled water for this recipe or any liquid soap so that your soap stays clear and doesn't go cloudy. Minerals in your tap water can make your soap stay cloudy. So we're just going to go ahead and slowly add the potassium hydroxide to the distilled water. So as you can hear, the potassium hydroxide combined with the water makes a whooshing sound when it's combined, different than adding sodium hydroxide to your water. That's just a normal part of the process, and you want to make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. We're going to be adding this solution to our melted oils at a high temperature, but we just want to make sure that our solution goes clear. So we're just kind of waiting for the solution to go clear, and then we're gonna add it down to our hot oils and butters. So I'll bring you right back when we're ready to combine the two. Okay, so we are ready to go ahead and combine our potassium hydroxide solution with our melted oils and butters. And just a quick note here, in my cold process carrot, honey, and turmeric soap, we used 100% olive oil. In this case, I am obviously using an oil blend that's different than that because I want to bring more lather and moisture to this liquid soap, and 100% olive oil doesn't lather as densely as a combination of oils, but you could certainly do this with 100% olive oil. So we're just slowly going to pour this over the spatula here to avoid splashing. And you can see it immediately start to turn into soap. So what we're trying to create here is a soap paste. So it's going to be a very concentrated paste when it's all the way done cooking, and then we'll go through the next processes here of how to make it into a liquid soap. So right now I'm just going to give it a quick hand stir, and then I'm going to get my stick blender and I am going to use the stick blender on low until they've reached a thick trace. All right, now because of the high percentage of coconut oil in this recipe, it did not take long to reach trace at all. And as you can see, I just blended until it got pretty thick, and then I just took the stick blender out and I hand stirred it with the spatula until it just became too hard to stir. And that happens pretty quickly with this recipe. So you'll be stirring and then you'll just start to feel it thicken up from the bottom up. So now it's just time to go ahead and cook this soap paste for 3 hours. And the reason we're cooking the soap paste for 3 hours is to bring all of the excess lye, we're cooking it out and we're creating a neutral product to work with and to make our liquid soap. So at this point, we're gonna go ahead and put the lid on and we're gonna let it cook for 3 full hours. We're gonna be coming in every 20 minutes or so to stir the soap paste, and I'll bring you back after the cook. All right, so the soap has been cooking now on high heat on the crock pot for a full 3 hours. So that was about 160 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit for the whole time. And now we've got this beautiful golden translucent looking soap paste. Now, if you saw my last video on shower gel, the soap paste looked much different. That's just because the recipes are different. So this one has a high coconut oil content, and that's why we're getting that beautiful clear translucent paste. So over here I have already tested to make sure that we've reached neutral, and all I did was take a few ounces of soap paste and a few ounces of hot water and melted down the soap paste, or dissolved it I should say, dissolved the soap paste until it was all dissolved. And the test is if you can put it over something that's got a print on it and you can read through it or see through it and it's totally clear, then your soap has reached neutral. So we've reached a neutral state and the color is actually very nice, light pale golden color. So we are gonna come back. I'll bring you right back to show you the next phase of this process, and that is the dilution phase. Okay everybody, we've reached the dilution phase of this liquid soap making, and what I've done is I've transferred all the paste over to this container with a lid. Now you can save the paste indefinitely in the refrigerator and just portion off little bits at a time, because all of this diluted down would make a bunch of soap. So I'm only portioning off what I want to make for today. So I put what I wanted in here soap paste wise, and now I'm just going to pour hot distilled water over the top of this. I've got my crock pot on high, so we are going to just start diluting down the soap paste. Okay, so you could actually boil your water and get it super hot. Mine was hot but not boiling, so we're just going to let this sit in the crock pot on high heat. I'm breaking up some of the soap paste here into smaller chunks just to hasten that dilution process here. Okay. I'm just going to break that up and just get it up off the bottom of the crock pot. Okay. So this could take several hours on high heat to dilute all the way down, but when we get back, we will have our soap stock, or basically our liquid soap stock. So also there's a lot of bubbles right here incorporated in, and the way that you get rid of this is just to spritz it down with some rubbing alcohol and it should pop all the bubbles. But that's how it looks. And so we're gonna go ahead and pop the lid on that, and then I'll bring you right back after this is all dissolved and we have our soap stock. All right, so my soap paste is completely dissolved into my distilled water, and the good thing about this recipe is this process of dissolving the soap paste really doesn't take that long. I had my crock pot on high and I just dissolved it all the way in, and I just let it sit overnight. I turned off the crock pot and I let it sit overnight because I ran out of time to finish it last night. So now I've turned the crock pot back on because we're entering the additive phase of the liquid soap making process, and it's much easier to add the additives in when your soap stock is warm or hot. So the first thing we're going to do is bring the pH down a little bit on this soap. So I am using a bit of a 20% citric acid solution, and when this hits the water you're going to see it curdle right up. So you just have to stir until all of the citric acid solution is completely dissolved, and that takes a few minutes. So there we go. All right. So you just want to stir until the soap goes back to clear. It is much easier when everything's warm. So that's looking pretty good. I'll bring you right back when we're ready to add in the rest of the additives. Okay, so I thought I would show you how I'm incorporating in the additives, because this process is really important to how it stays in the finished product. So here I have a bit of honey, I have some glycerin, and then to this glycerin we're going to be mixing in some carrot powder. In my cold process soap recipe, where we make the carrot turmeric soap cold process style, we use fresh carrot puree. Because this is a liquid soap, and we are not going to be using carrot puree because we just don't want to take any chances that the soap is going to spoil, since it's already undergone its saponification. So carrot powder by nature is very chunky, so you just want to make sure that you are breaking up the chunks, because once it gets into the soap, it's going to be super hard. So I'm just to break it up. So I'm just using a little mesh sieve strainer here, and I'm getting it all the way broken down into a powder, into that little container. And then also to this, I'm going to be adding in some colloidal oats. So this is the same properties we're adding to this soap that's in my carrot turmeric cold process soap. So we are just going to be adding in some colloidal oats, and we're going to be doing the same thing here, where we just push it down through and break up any of the chunks. Okay. So the next part is super important. If you try to add this directly to your soap, you're going to find it super hard to incorporate, because the colloidal oats and the carrot powder are not exactly water soluble 100%, and they're not oil soluble. So they have to be dispersed into glycerin first. So we're going to go ahead and disperse it into the glycerin, and then this way it mixes into the soap, and that will make more sense when we get closer to the finished product here. So we're going to go ahead and get that carrot, all that good powder into the glycerin, and you're going to see it change to a bit of a darker color than it is right now. We are not adding the turmeric in right this second, and I'll get to that in just a few minutes. So we're gonna go ahead and just disperse this into the glycerin until we don't have any chunks and everything is nice and mixed in. Okay, you definitely want to work in that colloidal oatmeal. Again, it's not really going to dissolve because it's not exactly water soluble. It is to a point. So you want to disperse it in the glycerin so that it suspends in the soap nicely. Okay, now to this, we're gonna be just adding in that honey, and we're gonna give it a good mix. And just make sure it's all well combined. Glycerin and honey both are really amazing humectants. So this formula here is going to draw moisture to the skin and help you retain the moisture. Okay, now we're ready to go ahead and add it into the soap. All right, so we're going to go ahead and add in all of these beautiful additives along with our essential oil, and we are using orange essential oil just like I use in my carrot turmeric soap. So we are ready to add this in. And then the last thing we're gonna do is add in that turmeric. Now, and I'll explain why in just a minute. So we're putting in these beautiful additives. The soap is still warm. I've just transferred it into this container so you can see what I'm doing. And you can see the color of the soap. Okay. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and stir this in. Now, because the additives that we're using are not totally water soluble or oil soluble, this is not gonna be a totally transparent soap, but we do end up with a really beautiful natural orange color. So we really are making an all natural soap here. And I've been testing this one out in the shower and it's amazing. Okay, so to this, I'm just adding in my orange essential oil. And you're gonna see the soap starting to turn into a beautiful orange color. Okay, now it's time to go ahead and start adding in the turmeric. And this is really something I do by eye because I could probably get more precise and weigh it out, but I think this is going to be a little bit different depending on your preference. And also, if you add too much turmeric to this, the color goes really deep burgundy. Just because of the way it reacts with the soap. So I'm gonna start out with just a tiny bit and stir it in and see how I like the color. My experience with putting it in with the other additives right away is that the color can kind of turn off to a weird kind of not nice bright orange, but as you can see, we're turning. Turmeric is very potent. A little bit goes a long way. So also if you use too much turmeric in this, it's gonna settle to the bottom of the soap. And we just want a nice suspension. We want everything to be just evenly dispersed. Okay, so you just start with the tiniest little bits. As you can see, like I'm not even using maybe an eighth or so at a time until you get to basically a color that you like. Also too, if you add too much, you could really risk maybe staining your washcloths or staining fair colored skin. So you just want to be careful that you're being mindful. It's a very, very potent additive. I'm getting a very beautiful kind of carrot orange color, and I'm really, really liking the way that it's looking right now. I'm probably just going to add a little bit more, and that's going to be it. Turmeric has amazing skin benefits. It's very, very anti-inflammatory. It helps with acne, it helps with eczema, it helps with inflammation. Overall, it's a beautiful, beautiful additive to add to your skincare products. And then your carrot powder is going to have the beta carotene with the antioxidants, the vitamin A, vitamin C. Orange essential oil is also very good for your complexion and your skin. And it just smells so good. It's very bright and a cheery fragrance. And the colloidal oatmeal here is just going to add some nice skin calming properties. All right, I'm going to stop right there, but that is the beautiful color that we have going on. And I'm going to allow this to reach room temperature before we add in the liquid Crowthix. Now, once we add in our thickeners, this is not going to be considered an all natural soap. So technically you could just stop here and not add anything else. But I like a thicker bodied soap. And even though this is very, very thin, and it's going to stay thin because of the coconut oil, it gives a thinner soap base. It is no indication of the actual concentration of the soap. This soap is actually very concentrated, meaning there's a lot of soap for the amount of water that we used. So it's not a watered down soap at all. So you could use it in its thin consistency if you like, or you could thicken it up with maybe a little salt water solution. But I really like the liquid Crowthix, so I will be right back to show you what that looks like. All right, it's time to go ahead and thicken up this soap, and we are going to be using liquid Crowthix. So what you do with this is you just add it in a little bit at a time until you get your desired consistency. You just stir, and you can only go up to 8%, I think. So that's what I have poured off in here. So we are not going to use more than this, but I don't think I'll need that much. So we are just going to keep pouring a little bit and stirring until we reach the desired consistency. So I'll bring you back when we're ready to go ahead and pour it in the bottles. All right, this soap is all thickened up now, and the consistency is going to be more like a body wash type of consistency here, but wait till you see the lather. So I'm going to go ahead and pour these off into the containers, and then we'll do a lather demonstration for you. All right, everybody, they're all bottled up and this is what they look like. I just absolutely love the color. It's so pretty. Let's go do a lather test. All right, here we go. We're just gonna squirt a little bit into the loofah. Wet it down a little bit. Work it into the loofah. Now this soap has some amazing suds. I mean, just big, fluffy, copious bubbles. And as you can see, the lather is completely white. It does not have an orange tint to it, so it's not gonna stain your skin or your washcloths. And I just think it makes the most gorgeous, gorgeous lather. So, so beautiful. I cannot wait to share this formula with you guys. I hope you like this video. That's it for now. If you did enjoy this content, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend. Keep shining. Catch you on the next video.